Hi everyone, very good evening. Welcome to InfoSec Train, and today is the second day of Fast Track Advanced Penetration Testing Fundamentals. And my name is Ashish Dhyani. Let's start with our session. Our Fast Track course is Introduction to Penetration Testing. So today we'll be going through the penetration testing. What is penetration testing? What are its benefits? The types of penetration testing, what are the different methodologies used, what how planning of penetration testing is done, scoping of penetration testing is done, how reporting is done, what is OSINT, the OSINT analysis, the foundation of OSINT, what are the goals of OSINT collection, what you want to collect from OSINT, finding out the email addresses, the domain names, the subdomains, the investigation about people, how to develop the skills of OSINT in. So let's start our day two with what is penetration testing. So everyone might have heard the name penetration testing, but what actually it is? How will you define? Now, when we talk about penetration testing, it is a type of security testing which evaluates the organization's ability to protect its infrastructure, right? Like network, applications, the systems, the users from external threats or internal threats. Now, there is a word that I have used which goes by the name threats. Now, when we talk about threat, guys, what happens in organization? We have assets, right? What is an asset? Asset means anything which holds some value for you or your organization. Let's say I talk about your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is an asset for you, right? Same like that, the data of your organization is an asset for the organization, right? Now, threat is something which can alter the value of your asset, right? Which can lower the value of your asset, right? Attackers, if attackers get the data of the organization, they will make it public. The value of that data will not be same as it was before, right? So that is what, that is asset, and attackers are what, those are threats, right? So from internal threats or external, the internal employees can also be threats for the organization's data. That's why we have least privileges, right? So you get the privileges only which are useful for completing your job role, not more than that, right? So that is what is the meaning of least privilege in the organization. So either it is internal threat or it is an external threat. Penetration testing does what, it finds out that if the organization has the ability to protect against those threats or not, right? Then it is a way of finding out the efficiency of organizational policies, right? The security policies, the controls, and the technologies that we are using, if they are effective or not, right? So we do the active evaluation of security of the organization's infrastructure. So we simulate an attack similar to what is performed by the real attackers, and then we find out if there is any vulnerability or not, right? Now, during the penetration testing, as I'm saying, that we are analyzing the security measures for I, design weaknesses, if there are any design weaknesses, there are any technical flaws, and if there are any vulnerabilities, right? So the test results are then documented and delivered in a report to higher management, to executive people of the organization and the technical audiences, so that they can understand where the vulnerability is and how we can patch it. Now, if I'm saying that there are some people who are penetration testers, but uh, some people they are attackers as well, right? So how penetration testers can be differentiated from attackers? Only because the skill set of penetration tester is same as the attacker. But the thing is, we can differentiate the penetration testers from attackers only with one thing, which is intent. Attackers, they have malicious intent, while penetration testers don't have malicious intent, right? So for conducting a penetration test, the management of the organization, they need to provide a clear written permission to perform penetration testing, and it should include a clear description of what will be tested, when the testing will occur, and how much in-depth testing you can do, right? So that is what is penetration testing. Now, when we are talking about penetration testing, right? So apart from penetration testing, you might have heard two more things. There is one thing which is known as security audit. There is one thing which is known as vulnerability assessment. So if I talk about security audit and vulnerability assessment, what are those and how they are different from penetration testing? Okay. So when we talk about vulnerability assessment, guys, in vulnerability assessment, we are identifying and measuring the severity of the vulnerability in a system. So whenever we have some vulnerabilities, so vulnerability assessment, it is used to identify common vulnerabilities, right? And it gives you a list of vulnerabilities which needs to be fixed without estimating any specific goals or scenarios, right? And a list is provided according to the severity level. Now severity level means that how much impactful the vulnerability is. It can be critical, it can be high, it can be medium, it can be low severity vulnerability, right? And the criticality of that vulnerability, how much severe it is found according to the business criticality, how much it is impacting your business. Maybe there is a vulnerability which can just close your server or shut down your whole server, web server, right? That's a critical vulnerability, right? So vulnerability assessment is suitable for the organization which is not secure and it wishes to get started, right? When the organization wishes to maintain the security posture of its network, right? So vulnerability assessment, it focuses on discovering the vulnerability in the system, right? And it provides no indication of whether the vulnerabilities can be exploited or of the amount of damage that may result from successful exploitation of the vulnerabilities, right? So if we are talking about vulnerability assessment, there are multiple tools that are used for performing the vulnerability assessment, and those tools will scan your whole uh, application, your whole network. Like there is Necto, there is Nessus. So they will give you a report, right? Now when that report is given, that what security people they do, they will put that report in your Excel sheet, right? And they will see that these are the vulnerabilities given by the tool, but that tool is not telling if the vulnerability can be exploited or not. So who tells if the vulnerability can be exploited and what amount of damage it will do to your organization? So penetration testing does what? It is a goal oriented exercise, right? So it focuses on real time attacks instead of discovering a specific vulnerability. And penetration tester will act as a hacker and follow all the steps of a real attacker who will try to breach a system, right? So that's the difference between vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Yep. Now the third thing is security audit. So when we talk about security audit, how it is different from vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So security audit is what? It is used to evaluate whether the security of a company's information, it fulfills a set of established criteria, and to make sure that the company is in compliance with its regulations, the security policies, the legal responsibilities. Let's say there is an organization which is taking data from its customers, right? So if that organization is taking care of the data properly or not, right? Whenever you share data, let's say you allow WhatsApp, right, to access your uh, folders, your files, pictures, everything, right? So you want WhatsApp to access it. Whenever you want to send that picture to someone, you can send it, but you don't want WhatsApp to share those pictures with anyone else, right? Outside uh, your environment, right? So what they are doing, they are following a compliance, right? There is a policy in their organization which say that you cannot share the customer's data with anyone else, right? So security audit only checks whether the organization follows a set of standard security policies and procedures or not, right? Perfect. So that's the difference between penetration testing, security audit, and vulnerability assessment. Next thing, what are the benefits of penetration testing? So the very first benefit of penetration testing is it identifies the threats and it determines the probability of an attack on information assets, right? Then we have to make sure that the organization is operating within an acceptable limit of information security risk, right? There are risks which we can accept risk acceptance we call it, but we have to make sure it is under the limit, not over limit, right? Then it also helps you in finding the feasibility of a set of attack vectors and potential business impact of a successful attack, right? It also gives you approach for preparation steps that can be taken to prevent any upcoming exploitation, right? What else? It makes sure the effective implementation of security controls and a better return on investment on IT security. What is return on investment in terms of IT security? Now, penetration testing does what? It helps the organizations to identify and understand and address any vulnerabilities, right? And it saves them a lot of money, right? Which results in good return on investment. Now, the thing is, the return on investment for a pen test is demonstrated within the help of business case scenario, right? And it includes expenditure and the involved profits, right? So ROI is what? If we write it here, the same notes from yesterday, right? ROI equals to expected returns minus cost of investment divided by cost of investment, right? So this is the formula for return on investment for penetration testing, right? So that means if I'm giving money to penetration testers to an organization to perform pen test and they are able to find out some vulnerability or they are able to show me that yes, the controls that I'm using in my organization they are working good, so that's a good return on investment, right? That is ROI in pen test, right? Next is Next benefit of penetration testing is it achieves compliance with regulations and industry standards, like you have HIPAA, right? You have PCI DSS, right? You have FISMA. So all those compliances and regulations are followed, right? Then it also focuses on high severity vulnerabilities, and it emphasizes application level security issues, right? For development teams and management. Then it also evaluates the efficiency of network security devices like firewalls, routers, web servers, if there are any vulnerabilities in those net perimeter devices or not. So those are what? Those are the things that it also addresses, right? So these are the benefits of penetration testing. Perfect. Now the next thing that we have is types of penetration testing, right? Now when we talk about the types of penetration testing, right, so we have heard a lots of things, and pretty much somewhere we are confused that are black box, white box, gray box the types of penetration testing, or goal oriented, compliance oriented, red team based are the types of penetration testing, right? We like always there is a confusion. So today just let's remove that confusion, that what are the different types of penetration testing. Now, the thing is, there are three types of penetration testing. First is goal oriented, second is compliance oriented, and third one is red team based. Right? Now, when we talk about goal oriented pen testing, right? What is goal oriented penetration testing? Okay. Now, when we talk about goal oriented penetration testing, so goals are what? These are the drivers for this pen testing approach. Now, in this type of assessment, what we do, a penetration tester is given a task for identifying or demonstrating a risk which attempts to achieve a goal rather than finding out vulnerabilities. Now, they focus on finding different ways to achieve a goal, right? So, in goal oriented pen testing, a goal is defined before the start of pen testing. And to achieve the set goals, to achieve your objective, pen tester he will perform multiple processes, right? Now, what are the goals? Let's say I've given you a goal that you are a penetration tester and gain remote access to internal network, or there is a web application, e-commerce application, right? Gain access to credit card information of the users, right? Then I'm saying that there is a website, try to deface this website, right? Get the administrator access of this website, or of this network, right? Create a DOS condition against a website, right? So these are what? These are different goals which are defined before you start the pen test. That's why we call it goal oriented penetration testing. Now, second is compliance oriented penetration testing. Now, what do you guys think? What we are testing in that? How we are testing? What is our approach? Meeting the standard. Perfect. Now, when we talk about compliance, so compliance requirements, they are the drivers for this approach. Now, in this testing, what you do, you test against the adherence to compliance requirements, right? So you will perform assessment against the compliance requirement of cybersecurity standards, frameworks, laws. Like, let's say there is an organization, right? And you are a penetration tester. So organization is asking you to perform a security assessment against the compliance standards like PCI DSS, ISO 27001, FISMA, HIPAA, right? So compliance oriented pen testing, it also reviews firewall rules for the compliance. Don't forget that. right? And it is a proactive approach to secure and maintain compliance, right? So what you are doing in compliance oriented, you are maintaining the security posture of the organization by identifying and preventing the attack before they occur, right? Then what else you are doing, you are enhancing the security infrastructure or policy framework, right? Next, you are evaluating the organization's compliance level in specific areas like patch management, password policy, or configuration management, if they are following those regulations or not, right? Then you are also protecting the client data from breaches, right? Then you are verifying the system's security with respect to certification, accreditation activities, right? So that's what you do in compliance oriented penetration testing approach. Next, we have is red team based. Now, what is red team? First thing, wait. Now, red teamers are what? A red team means the people who are working as penetration testers in the organization, right? That is the attacking team, the offensive people who are working into the offensive side of the security. They will perform the attack, they will find out the vulnerability, and they will exploit those vulnerability in the organization, right? So those are red teamers. Now, red team, there are two things, guys, right? One is red teaming, second is penetration testing. Because what we do in penetration testing, we always penetration testing is always a noisy process, guys, right? What noisy process means, that there are lots of logs and alerts generated, right? So that's why we call penetration testing a noisy process. But in red team assessment, first thing, we talk about adversaries, right? Adversary means any opponent or attacker, right? So what we do, we follow the path that the adversaries are taking, right? There is one thing which is known as APT. Now, advanced persistent threats means these are the groups which do the long term attack, and they will stay inside your system for a very long period of time undetected, and they will gather the information, more and more information about you, that what you browse every day, which websites you visit every day, what is your pattern, everything, right? So what we do in red team assessment, we follow the same things, right? If you have heard of a framework, right, there is an attack framework by MITRE. So there is a framework by MITRE which goes by the name attack, right? Now, what MITRE attack framework is, it gives you three things, right? What are those? Tactics, techniques, and procedures, right? So, tactic, techniques, and procedures of the attackers, right? What are tactic, techniques, and procedures? Let me show you the MITRE attack framework first. Now, this is the website of MITRE, and there is a framework, attack framework. So, this is the attack metrics, right? At the top, the things that you can see, right? The very first thing, which is reconnaissance. It's written reconnaissance. Reconnaissance means information gathering. This is a tactic, right? Perfect. So, when we are talking about reconnaissance, means information gathering, right? Whenever you do attack, before doing the attack, you have to gather the information about your target, right? Whom you are attacking, what are the things you can gather, what are the different email. Let's say I want to do phishing, right? I will send a link to the people over emails, but I don't have emails of Accenture, I don't have emails of InfoSec Train. Will I be able to send email to anyone, malicious emails? No, I won't be able to see. I need email IDs of people. So I will gather the information all over the internet to find out if there are any email addresses available or not, right? So for gathering different types of information, these are the techniques. Reconnaissance is a tactic. To complete that tactic, there are 10 different techniques that you can follow, right? And then what else you have, for every technique, there is a procedure to follow, right? Like you can do like use different tools, right? So if you read about them, right, these are sub techniques. So if you read about them, there will be tools written, right, that how what tools they are using. Let's say I pick up any metrics, right? Let's say for enterprise, I'm opening, right, and let's open some groups first, right? So there are multiple advanced persistent threat groups, right? So APT 29 is my favorite, so I'm opening that. So you can see the associated groups, the campaigns, right, they have hosted, and what they have done, the techniques that they use, right? Like web protocol. So you can open that, right? The procedures, right? Can you see the procedure example? So what procedure they follow, that is also told by the MITRE attack framework. So being a penetration tester or being a red teamer, what we do, we basically follow the steps, the tools, and exact same TTPs, the tactics, techniques, and procedures of a group. Let's say I picked up APT 29 group, right? So how they started and how they did the attack, everything. Now there are lots of tactics that you can see, like uh, total there are 14. So these are all the tactics that you can see, right, till impact. It starts from reconnaissance, then resource development, initial access, execution, persistent, private escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, collection, command and control, right? So these are all the tactics, right, which can be used, but not every tactic is used, right? So how we can check? Let's see the attack navigator if it is working. Let me create a new layer for enterprise metrics, and here um, let's search for APT 29. There is a threat group, and select, right? Now let's fill some colors. Now the highlighted ones, the ones that you can see in red, right? These are the tactics used by APT group 29. So they don't do reconnaissance and they don't do resource development. They directly start with initial access, right? In initial access, they exploit public facing application or external remote services or trust relationship, or they will find out the valid accounts, right? Then after that, they go to execution, right? Then in execution, not every technique they follow, right? Only two techniques highlighted, three techniques that they follow. Then they go to persistent boot or log on initialization scripts, right? External remote services, right? Valid accounts. So this is the path, right? Now I will pick up all these highlighted ones, right? All these highlighted scripts, or you can say the techniques, and I will follow these techniques inside my organization, and also I will try to stay stealthy, right? So the main thing about red team assessment that we call, main thing is about being stealthy. Stealthy means being hidden. So there is like, it's not told to the defensive guys or the IT guys of the organization that a red team assessment is going on. until unless they detect you, right? So you have to make sure you should remain undetected and you should be inside the network for a longer period of time, and then this red team assessment is done. So red team oriented penetration testing approach, it is what it is, an adversarial goal based assessment where, being a penetration tester, you will mimic a real attacker, right? So let's say there is an organization. That organization may ask you to conduct a security assessment for evaluating its overall security, right? And it may include the assessment of people, the assessment of networks, applications, the physical security, right? Right. So that is your red team based assessment, penetration testing assessment, right? Now, three more things we have heard, right? White box pen testing, black box, or gray box pen testing, right? We always thought these are the types of penetration testing, but these are called the strategies of penetration testing. Yep. Now, when we talk about these three types of penetration testing: white box, black box, gray box, right? What is white box pen testing? What is black box? What is gray box? So, the very first one which we have is black box pen testing, right? So we say that when we are talking about black box penetration testing, in in this type of pen testing, the pen tester has no previous knowledge of the infrastructure that is to be tested, right? And the tester has limited information about the target company. I'm not saying he has zero knowledge, right? Very limited information, right? So that's why that limited information can be called negligible, because that limited information won't be helping him. The attacker has to do the reconnaissance, the information gathering of the organization by himself, right? Then, in this, the penetration testing must be conducted after extensive information gathering and research, right? And the real world hacking or like is simulated, and it is very time consuming and expensive process, right? That's black box penetration testing. Next, if we talk about white box penetration testing. So in white box penetration testing, we are giving complete information on the infrastructure which is to be tested, right? And it simulates the process of company's employees, right? And it helps you in revealing bugs and vulnerabilities very quickly. You have, like, I have a website, so I'm giving you the whole source code of the website, that this is the source code of the website, these are the usernames and password. Now test, do SAST, do DAST, whatever you want to do, just find out the vulnerabilities if there are any, right? So that's white box penetration testing. So it gives you the assurance on complete testing coverage, because the tester knows what exactly to test. Next we have is gray box penetration testing. Now, what is gray box penetration testing? Everyone says combination of black box and white box, right? So that means, so in gray box penetration testing, security assessment and testing are internally performed, right? So the process of testing, it examines the scope of access by insiders within the organization. That's why we call it internal, right? It's done internally, right? And it is the most common approach towards application security, which tests the vulnerabilities an attacker can exploit, right? And this type of testing is a combination of black and white box, right? So you, tester has limited information, tester will perform security assessment and testing internally and will test application for all the vulnerabilities, right? So that's gray box pen testing. One thing that I wanted to tell you, that we know about black box pen testing, right? Now, when we were talking about black box pen testing, let me write it here. Black box pen testing is of two types: blind testing and double blind testing. What are these? What is blind testing? What is double blind testing? Now, when we talk about blind testing, guys, right? Blind testing process, it focuses on and simulates the methodologies of real attackers, right? And it is a time consuming and expensive process, right? So pen testing team is provided by with limited or no knowledge of the organization before the pen test. And to conduct the test, the pen testing team will gather publicly available information on the target from different resources like websites, from domain registries, right? From Usenet, right? From multiple places. Double blind is a step beyond the blind testing. The IT and security staff of the organization are not informed of the pen testing activities, right? And this strategy, this double blind strategy, it tests the organization's security monitoring issues, the incident identification. So, how fast the incident process is, the incident team, how fast they are working, right? How fast they take the decision, right? And the response procedures, that how fast they respond and if their response is correct or not, right? So, few people in the organization are aware about the test being conducted, right? So, that's double blind, right? Same like that, we have white box pen testing, right? Now, when we talk about white box pen testing, right, it is also of two types: announced and unannounced, right? What is announced and what is unannounced? Announced means it attempts to compromise system on a client network with the full cooperation and knowledge of IT staff, right? So it will examine the existing security infrastructure for possible vulnerabilities, right? Unannounced means we are trying to compromise the systems on the client network without the knowledge of IT security. Only the upper management is aware about the test. And we examine the security infrastructure and responsiveness of IT staff. So these are the strategies of penetration testing. Now, next thing is the methodologies of penetration testing, right? Now, there are multiple methodology. The first one that I have in this picture, which you can see, this is a general methodology of penetration testing, right? The first thing that we do is planning and scoping, then information gathering and vulnerability identification, then attack and exploit, and then reporting and communication, right? So when we talk about methodology, what is a methodology? So pen testers, they use different methodologies. Some use their own test while others they use expensive tools which can increase the cost. So it is a good idea to use expensive tools because they reduce the time to test and produce higher quality results as compared to custom tests. So methodology is the strategy that you are following, that how you will plan the test, right? What tools you will be using, how what steps you will be taking. So everything will be in detail. That's a methodology. Now, different methodology are there, but the one which I have pasted, that's a general methodology. These steps will be included everywhere whenever a pen test is carried out. Clear? Now, in this type of penetration testing, in this methodology, what we can see is there is planning and scoping, right? Then there is information gathering and vulnerability identification. right? And then attacks and exploits, reporting and communication. Same like that, there is ethical hackers penetration testing methodology. The one which you can see right now, this is ethical hackers pen testing methodology, right? There we can see first is permission, which are pre-attack steps. Permission, performing the reconnaissance, scanning and enumeration, gaining the access, then escalation of privileges, maintaining the access, covering the tracks and placing backdoors, and then reporting. Then from NEST also there is a methodology. The NEST methodology says no, we cannot start on verbal agreement. Like that's very unprofessional to start on a verbal agreement. There should be two. The documentation should always be there. Now, why documentation should be there? Because there are lots of risks associated with the penetration test. Always remember, no matter like you are 10 years experience, 20 years experience, there are chances that there will be some problem, or uh, there will be some tools will work differently, right? So let's say uh, you are doing a pen test, and during that pen test some service got down, right? You exploited a vulnerability in the service and it affected very adversely, right? So that is something which you should not do. You should not impact the operations of the environment, right? So that's why there should be a whole documentation done where the tools will also be written that yes, I will be using these tools. The other organization, the organization who wants to get tested, that organization will allow us to perform the pen test. And then if any tool did something wrong, not intentionally but unintentionally, so then you can tell them that in the rules of engagement it's written that these are the tools we'll be using and you agreed upon those, right? So that's why we cannot start it on verbal agreement, right? So this is the methodology of pen test by NIST, right? Planning, discovery, attack, and reporting. And after attack, again, additional discovery you will do. Yes, perfect. Now, the thing is that there are three phases, three things that you should know. First is the planning phase. What happens in the planning phase of a pen test? See, whenever we are planning a pen test, so in planning phase, first you should know who is the target audience, right? You need to know properly, right? And you should know what the business do, what business you are testing, be like if it is a small retailer and if it is a multinational bank, right? So planning will be different for both of them, right? What are their objectives, right? So you should know their objectives. Yes. Then in planning, budgeting is also done, right? In budgeting will control many factors in the pen test. So if you have a large budget, you can perform a in-depth pen test because you will have increased timeline for testing, increased scope will be there, and there will be increased resources. So more people will be involved, more technology will be involved, more expensive tools will be involved, right? So that's why budgeting is also a part of it, right? Then resources and requirements. You have to find what resources will the assessment require, what requirements will be met in the testing, right? So confidentiality of your findings, and unknown vulnerabilities, the compliance based assessment, right? Then you should know the communication path, What is communication path? You won't talk with everyone about the test, right? So who do we communicate with about the test? What information will be communicated and when to communicate it, right? Who is a trusted agent if testing goes wrong, right? So whom to report first, right? And the end path. What is the end state? What kind of report will be provided after the test? Will you provide an estimate of how long the remediation will take or not? Right? That is also one thing. Then technical constraints are there, right? What are technical constraints? What constraints limit your ability to test, right? Provide your status in the report. What things are tested, what things are not tested, and what things cannot be tested, right? That is the planning phase, or we call it pre-assessment phase, right? Then we talk about scoping phase. Now, what is scoping? So, in scoping phase, what we do, you will find out what part of the organization you are testing. Let's say you are testing network. What servers you will be testing, what servers or IPs you won't be testing or you cannot test, right? So, all those things should be in mind. So, whenever you are see, there is a series of documents shared between the penetration tester and the organization, right? So there will be request for proposal, right? Then in the proposal, you will write the executive summary, the approach, and the methodology, right? Your deliverables, that types of report which you will provide, right? Project management, right? The pricing, team strength, right? Your company briefing, right? If there are any references, that also you will define in the request for proposal, right? Then evaluation of your proposal will be done. Many different companies will propose, right? That they will submit the proposal, right? Then the evaluation of your proposal will be done, right? So once you are selected, then it's like they will send the preliminary information request document, right? They will gather basic information about the uh, expectation. Then you will also, being a penetration tester, you will gather basic information about the client expectation, their contact details, about the scope of pen testing, right? So what are your boundaries, you will find out after that once you are selected, right? Now scoping is very important part of your pen test, right? It is a process that helps you in gathering assessment requirements for the pen test, and it helps you in preparing the test plan, the limitations, the business objectives, and time schedule for the pen test, right? So here in scoping, what you find out, what will be tested, how it should be tested, what resources will be allocated, what limitations will be applied, and what business objectives will be achieved, and how to test, how the test project will be planned and scheduled, right? These things you get in the scoping phase. Then the reporting phase you should know. So what is the reporting phase? When we talk about reporting phase, that how the report will be delivered, what are the different types of reports given, will be given, and how detailed the report will be. Now the thing is that your report should be as much details as it can be, right? And it should have like whenever you are being a penetration tester, your communication skills should be really good, right? Like it's not that you should use very heavy words, very heavy English words, but your way of writing should be understood by everyone. Like the reports will be read by the people who are not penetration testers, right? Who are not, who are only the executives. So you will write executive summary in that. That executive summary should deliver that yes, we found these vulnerabilities and this is how they will affect you, right? Without going into too much technicalities, right? Then when a penetration tester will read that report, so there should be technicalities that what you did, how you did, what tools you use, and how they affected, how they were used, right? So everything should be written in the reporting phase, right? So that's how you create a report, a detailed and a very nice report, right? So that's the reporting phase. So these things should be clear before the pen test only, right? Perfect. So that was about penetration testing. Now, in penetration testing, we found that the very first thing is reconnaissance or finding information, right? Now, whenever we are trying to find out information, guys, so if we talk about reconnaissance, right? So we find information about either a person or an organization, right? Now, when I want to find out information about a person, where I can check, I can Google it, right? I can check social media. Yes, I can use people search engines. Yep, there was yellow pages as well, which we used, right? Then job sites. Many people, they what they do, they upload their resumes on job sites. So yeah, in job sites, it's possible you will get information about any person, right? Now, same like that, if I want to find out information about any organization, so I can Google it, right? I can check the social media of uh, that organization, right? I can check the company's website. Yes, what else? I can do who is lookup. Yep. What else? Where else can I find the information about the organization? There is one thing that job description gives a lot of information about the organization, because in job description the roles is written and it's also written that where you have to work, what are the types of things you will be working with, right? So as I said that we can Google it, right? So let's Google it. Now let's say I'm searching for a name, right? This is the name Abhishek Sharma which I have searched, right? Now in this what you are getting an output, right? Let me just change my browser. I've searched for it, right? Now, if we see that we are getting a lots of results for this, right? In these results, first thing, everyone should know the one which is written here, this one at the top in gray. This is known as URL, right? The second one in blue, this is known as title. And below title, here it's written text. So there are three things which is known as URL, text, and title, right? And these are known as Google Docs, right? Now, Google Docs are what? Google Docs are the ways by which you can search for any person or anything efficiently. So that means it is a efficient way of using Google, right? So let's say if I write in URL, right? So you will get less number of results as compared to others, right? So everywhere you will see there will be in URL, there will be the name Abhishek Sharma written, right? If you want, you can write it as in title, right? So in title, there will be Abhishek Sharma written, right? So this is an efficient way of finding out about a person, that what that person does, where he is, right? And every information, right? Then what if I write in text, right? I can also write in text, uh, and we can see we are getting some specific number of results for this name, right? So this is what we are trying to narrow down our search scope, right? So these are known as Google Docs, and you can search for different types of docs. Like you can create your own docs, right? What I can do, I can write movie and let's say Titanic, right? And site is drive.google.com, right? So it gave me all the Google drives where the movie Titanic is uploaded. Great. Now, how can you get different types of Google Docs? So you just have to write GHDB, Google Hacking Database, and this is the website where you can get different types of latest docs, right? If you see site.com index of Docker, right? In URL install PHP in title Froxlore server management panel installation. So everything, multiple docs. Like you can see there are 7,898 entries for that, right? So these are the different types of docs that you can use, right? Now, next thing, what else you can do to find out information about a person? So you can visit job websites, like there are multiple job website, naukri.com and all, right? Apart from that, people search engines like Spokeo, right? Spokeo is what you can use Spokeo to find out information about the people who are living in USA, who are citizens of USA, right? If you search for any person, let's say John Smith, right? It will give you the output in your registered email IDs. Now you have to register for it, right? Before it, you didn't need to register, but now there is a need for registration, right? Then there is one more website where you can go, which is PIPL. Now PIPL is what you register here, and you will get the identity of the people. So there are 5+ billion trusted identities and 3+ billion global mobile numbers. You have to register, and it's paid, so you have to purchase the subscription, and you will get information about people here, right? So this is another website which you can use, right? Next thing, let's say you want to gather information about an organization. So you can use this website who is, right? Let's say uh, I write here infosectrain.com, right? So you are getting information, the registrar registered on, expires on, the domain name, the name servers you are also getting, right? And the registrant contact, the administrative contact, Arizona, right? And the who is data, right? So this is a little less amount of data that you are getting, but yeah, like you got to know that how much it's old and when it was registered, right? Then next place where you can search for is Netcraft. right? Now in netcraft you can just write the domain name, right? And if I do the lookup, let's see what it gives, what information it is giving. Okay, great. It's analyzing the information for you. You are getting the IP address first thing of infosec train. Yes. Then you are getting the autonomous system who's giving the IP. Great. Next thing, you are getting the operating system, right? That infosec train is using the operating system Linux and web server is Apache 2.4.52 Ubuntu. Isn't that a good amount of information for starting your hacking? Yes. Then the site technology, cloud and platform as a service, Amazon Web Services EC2, application server is Apache, server side they have used PHP, SSL, client side they have used JavaScript, right? Client side frameworks, jQuery, right? For blogs they use WordPress, self-hosted, right? PHP application, WordPress, right? So lots of information you are getting, like HTTP compression method, gzip they are using, UTF-8 character encoding they are using, right? So this is a good amount of information for the starters, right? Next way of getting information is just visit any website, right? Now I'm using an extension in my browser, right? Now whenever I open any website, that extension will do what? It will calculate the technologies being used. So here at the top you can see it's written 21, still calculating, but 21 is written, right? What 21 means? It means what technologies are being used here, right? Now, let me click on that. The name of the tool is Vapalizer, right? And it tells you that what are the technologies used for building this website. So, WordPress, Ubuntu, right? Operating system, MySQL, Google Analytics, Microsoft Clarity, Microsoft Advertising, right? WordPress for blogs, JavaScript frameworks, right? Now, font scripts, Font Awesome 4.7.0. You are even getting the versions. If there is any version which is vulnerable, it can be hacked, right? jQuery 1.10.2, jQuery UI 1.12.1, right? Yoast SEO Premium 20.09, then Bootstrap 4.5.2, Apache Server HTTP to 2.4.52, right? So this is a good amount of information that you are getting so that you can find out vulnerabilities in any of the component and you can attack. Yes, great. Now let's say you want to gather information about an organization, right? And you want to find out, let's say, the email IDs. So how can you find out email IDs of the organization? Now, what you can do is there is a website snob.io. You can create yourself an account on snob.io and you can do domain search, let's say, right? In here, I'm giving the domain name infosectrain.com, right? Now, here, all domain emails, so maximum of emails you are getting here, right? All the email IDs. Yes. So this is what this is snob.io. You can use this, right? Let's say you want to find out the information about the domains and subdomains, right? So there is one place where you can go is crt.sh. Now crt.sh is what? It is a website which was built to find out if a domain name has a valid certificate, digital certificate or not, but it shows the subdomains as well, right? So if you can see here in matching identities, right? Under matching identities for Tesla, I have searched, there are multiple subdomains written, right? Whenever you do bug bounties and you find out subdomains, so you test for vulnerabilities in subdomains also, like if any subdomain is vulnerable instead of the whole domain. So this is where you get lots of subdomains. There is one more DNS dumpster which you can use, right? Which will help you in finding out the DNS records and information about the DNS. Let's say I search for tesla.com, right? So it will give you the exact location and how every subdomain is connected to the main domain, right? So here, if you see, all these are the subdomains, right? And then there is a kind of map created, right? Here is your main domain, tesla.com, then DNS and how they are connected, how other subdomains are connected, what are the A records of it, right? Of this DNS, what are the MX records of it. So everything is in a linear way, right? In a proper way, right? And you can download that file in Excel SX format as well, in Excel format, right? So this is how you can get information, right? Perfect. Then there are some tools that you can use to gather information, right? So let's say we are trying to gather information, and there is a tool, Eagle OSINT, right? This is the tool, right? Now what you want, you have to choose a number or type exit for exiting. So I want to do, let's say, uh, Facebook information, right? So if I choose 02, enter Facebook cookies, right? So if you get the cookies of Facebook, then you can enter that, right? Username enumeration, if you want to do, write 01 and enter username, let's say Lero, right? So what it will do, it will try to find out in multiple places with if this username exists or not, right? Perfect. So if you can see, in different websites it found the username that I have given. Next, there is a tool in built in Kali Linux, right, that you can use, which goes by the name Spiderfoot. Has anyone used that tool, Spiderfoot? Now, Spiderfoot is a tool which gives you a detailed information about a domain name, right? Now, anyone give me a domain name of your company or any website, any domain name which you want me to search or find information about. Now, this is the page of Spiderfoot, right? I'll click on new scan name, let's say APT fast track, and the target, right? Let's say global.ntt, right? Now use case, what kind of scan you want to do? I want to get anything and everything about the target, so that's why it's already selected all, and you just have to click on run scan now, right? Now once the scan will be running, it will keep on gathering the results, right? So it will start gathering the results and it will show it to you in this format, in a graph format first, right? A histogram, you can call it, right? The data types it found, the domain name it found, IP address, internet name, right? So it will keep on finding the information and then it will keep on showing that information to you, right? See, raw data from RIRs and APIs, internet name, DNS SRV record, affiliate internet name, right? And one best thing, what it gives is a graph, right? If I click here, so you can see a graph is created, right? In this graph here, this is your main domain name, right? Which I have given global.entity. And these are the things connected with it, right? It can be like this is a GitHub repository, right? This is online.link.com, right? Many things like subdomains will be there, right? And then some IPs will be there, some usernames will also be there. So many things will be there which are connected, right? Like this is your GitHub again, right? Then the cloud service, right? Then GitHub of Bucky, right? And IP address 185.3.30.50, right? So this is how it will keep on gathering the information and keep on increasing the density of the graph. So graph will be very dense. Now, if I show you the scans that I have done, so you get to know that what it looks like. So if I show you the graph, this is how the graph becomes very much dense. This is for Uber I have done, right? Research.uber.com, shell at uber.com, right? Many of the things, contact at uber.com, Nico, right? Everything you will get, right? So this is the tool which goes by the name Spiderfoot, right? So what we have done the OSINT, the open source intelligence we have found, the open source information which is available, that we have found, right? So these are some of the ways, some of the tools by which you can find out the information.